question before we move on about this dad character. So Vladek, what do you think of him so far? You like him? Why do you like him?
He's just kind of like, he's not like coarse, but he's like abrupt and he just gets right to the point. And
yeah.
He's like not rude, but he's not like super friendly.
Okay, good. So he doesn't seem to be like hiding anything, does he? He seems to be clear about his agendas in life, which I like too. I appreciate that kind of authenticity in a person. Yeah.
He's very intense.
Yeah. When is he intense, do you think?
Oh, part of it, like when he is like hanging up his coat or whatever, and then handing him hangers and everything.
Yeah.
And then also when he's telling him what not to write in whatever his comments or anything.
Yeah,
like,
good.
You can't write this.
So we start the chapter with him being intense, and we end the chapter with him being intense. Yeah, and he seems to be very judgmental of Mala, who is his second wife. He talks about his first wife killed herself, right? It says, he had aged a lot since I saw him last. My mother's suicide and his 2 heart attacks had taken their toll. And it seems like, and she says the new wife and him, they don't get along. So he gives she gives the hanger, and he's like, no, don't give wire hangers. Like, he's just like, almost like erupts, it seems like, for no good reason, you know? What else do we notice about this character? Do you think he's like a believer in soulmates and true love? Does he seem to be a little bit more cynical about love? What does he want out of a relationship? Keegan?
I feel like he's more logical about things.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just very blunt with everything he does.
Yeah, he does seem to be a logical type of person. It's like, I dated this girl. She did not come from money, so I didn't like her that much. So then I found this new girl. Her family had millions. Liked her a lot. You know, it seems like he's just very straightforward, as you guys are saying. Maggie and then Ashton.
He's very understanding. Like, there's some parts where he's like, oh yeah, I could do that. Or like, he's like, not like, oh, I just want to do it just because. He's like, I want to do it because this is the reason why. And he's like, showing them that he is like, not just for what he like, seems like.
Okay, so it seems that there's maybe a surface level to him that is blunt and a little bit maybe off-putting, but that there's a level underneath him that makes him more of a rounded character. Like when he talks about how beautiful Anya's letters were to him, that kind of creates that roundedness that we like him a little bit more. We'll go to Ashton and then to you two. Yeah.
I was thinking like also the money, like how he's logical. I think he's also just looking for the right girl. Like if Lucia, she was too clingy, and whatnot. But like Anna, she was definitely more the girl for him. She was smart.
Yeah.
Like how she was logical, so I think they were good mix.
Okay, good. So we see them the pairing as like, maybe it's not this boy meets girl and immediately there's fireworks and sparks. Maybe it's more logical, but that they fit together. And Keegan and then to Peyton.
I'm kind of going off of what Maggie said. Basically, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I should be right, but at the same time, I feel like he was like, he thinks that Anna was like the only one for him, and now that he's married to his second wife, he like doesn't feel right with her. It's not the same kind of love that he used to have, but he's kind of like empty.
He seems to be a little immobile in the way that he sees things. He doesn't adapt easily. Yeah. So instead of seeing, oh, this is my new wife, she has good qualities too, it's like he's just very rigid in his ways. Kind of like, I don't know, my grandpa's like that. Do you guys have grandpas like that? Like, it's like they get set in a pattern and they're like, this is the way life is. And so when something changes, like Mala in his life, yeah, he's really upset. And like same with the hangers. It's like, no, I want the wooden hanger. That's what I like, you know? Keegan?
Okay, going off of what Maggie said, he is very blunt with what he says, but you can tell that he cares about the people that he loves because with like the hanger thing, he is very rude to his wife, but at the same time he cares about his son. He like says it at the same time. He's like, I haven't seen my son in so long, so he deserves the wooden hanger.
Yeah, good.
He freaks out about it.
Good. So he's not totally selfish either, right? It's just there's some tension between him and Mala. So it's this complication that I think Nat was talking about before when you were saying the story's messy. There's things to not like about Vladek, but there's also things to really admire about him. Maggie?
He like has a like rigid character. He's like he's on the edge kind of way, but like it also kind of shows how he cares about people. Like you think like in the beginning, like when he's like, oh, I've been through all this kind of, it seems kind of like a punch, but it's also like I care about you. It's been hard for me, and I don't want you to get that.
I kind of want to prepare you for what
Yeah.
life can give you. Yeah. Okay. This all leads us to understanding why he would choose mice to represent Jewish people. There is a lot in this book that talks about stereotypes of Jewish people. And because we live in Utah, usually, like I'm making some assumptions, but usually I don't have many Jewish people in my classes. And usually, you're Jewish?
Only by my mom's side, so not by religion.
But mom's side is
I
You're-
can get land.
okay, good. So there's differences. So then there's some things we need to explain because of where we are. So like there's differences between being religiously Jewish, being culturally Jewish, and being ethnically Jewish. So what Kale's talking about is being ethnically Jewish. If your mom is Jewish, then you are technically Jewish. It doesn't matter like what religion you subscribe to, you can still be Jewish. You can also be culturally Jewish, which is like I do all of the I live in New York and I eat challah bread and you do all of the things associated with Jewish culture, but you don't necessarily believe in the religion. And then there's religiously Jewish, and there's different kind of sects of Judaism, the same as there are different sects of like Protestantism. So you can, because there's these like three different things that kind of are like avenues to being Jewish, that makes it a little bit confusing to talk about. So not all of the Jews persecuted in Europe were religiously Jewish. A lot of them weren't, but they were ethnically Jewish. Vladek here doesn't spend a whole lot of time talking about the religion, at least at the beginning of this, but he does display some stereotypes that people have associated with Judaism. And those stereotypes are part of what enabled Jews to be oppressed in Europe. So there are stereotypes of Jewish people that still persist today, and unfortunately have had kind of a resurgence today. We've seen like white supremacy movements start to talk about this stuff a lot. There's an idea that Jewish people love money, that they hoard money, and that they're not generous with their money. There's a stereotype that Jewish people are neurotic. So when he starts talking about wanting to ride the bike, and like I need this to be good for my heart, like they're kind of like obsessive about certain things like health. That's a stereotype. There's a stereotype that Jewish people are more blunt than other people. So like this character here, Vladek, because he's worried about money, because he's neurotic, and because he's so blunt, he kind of is like a Jewish stereotype. Art Spiegelman is Jewish, and here he is representing his father, all of the things about his father that turn him into this kind of like negative stereotype. So we need to think about why this book would choose to do that. And one of the stereotypes associated with Jews in World War II was that they were vermin. That was an idea that was circulated in by a whole propaganda machine in Europe and especially Germany of Jewish people being like rats. So for Spiegelman to choose to represent them as mice, as vermin, is a really controversial choice. So in order to examine that, to think about why he would make that choice, we need to do some research on this Jewish propaganda that I'm mentioning it's Nazi propaganda about Jewish people in Europe at the time. So I mentioned this last time. Along with reading this book, we're also going to work on how to conduct research. So this is our first little research project. If you'll get Canvas up, there's a Google Docs. Let me make sure I published this for you guys. No, I didn't. Hang on, let me publish it for you. There's a document on Google that you're going to fill out while you're doing some research. That's what we're getting to. All right, I'm gonna open it up for you. Let's say it's due today because you're gonna finish it today in class. Till then. Okay, all right, under today's module, which is January 6th and 7th, there's an assignment that says class recording, January 6th and 7th. Click on that. And then there's something that says research notes form. Open that and make a copy for yourself. You're going to be able to do this in partners if you want to, but everyone's going to submit the form. So. Okay. So these are some general topics that you could think about researching. Does everyone have that notes form open now? Is anyone still waiting on it? Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. It's under the 6th and 7th, right?
Yeah, it's called class recording January 6th and 7th, and then it's in there. Yeah, I didn't make that as clear as I could. All right, so you are making a copy of that form, and you're going to choose 2 things to research. For this first research project, you're just going to research in the best way you know how. So if you've been taught about databases, you can do that. The way you know how is Google searching, you can do that. You're just trying to find this information, and you're trying to find it from the best sources that you can find. But I'm going to kind of like leave it to you. Find what information you can about this subject. So there's a few subjects that you could choose to research, and you need to choose 2 of them. You could choose to just research Nazi propaganda in general. You could choose to research, this is the Department of Propaganda under the Nazi Party, the Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda. You could choose to research Joseph Goebbels, who is the head of the propaganda he's the head of this department. You could choose to research one kind of propaganda, so not all of these, but you could choose, I want to research music, Nazi music propaganda, or Nazi newspaper propaganda. You could choose one kind. Or you could research the Nuremberg race laws. All of this propaganda machine led to the passage of these Nuremberg race laws, which is ultimately the way that Jews were discriminated first in Germany. Not first, but yeah.
So, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like during World War II, wasn't one of the propagandas the Nazis put out was that the concentration camps were like good places, you know.
Yeah.
These are doing fine, they're like basically being tortured.
Yeah, they definitely put that kind of propaganda out. That was later in the war, once people actually found out about the concentration camps, and they made them sound like relocation camps or work camps, and they tried to convince people that people were not dying in mass numbers at those camps. It came out very quickly that people were dying because people lived around these concentration camps so they could see. But yeah, they tried to erase that. So if I would choose this as one of your topics if you're wanting to look at that more specifically. Okay, so what you're going to do, you can work on your own or you can work in partners, whichever you want. You're going to choose 2 of these things to research. And if you look at the form, the first thing it says is narrow topic. You'll name the first thing that you're choosing to research. You're going to find one source that you think is really good to give you information about that, and you'll fill out the form. There's a box that says how this relates to my project. Your project is understanding mouse a little bit better. So what information did you learn that helps you understand mouse a little bit better? And then you're going to find a second source on that same topic. And that way you can find two sources that you're trying to find two sources that collaborate, corroborate, sorry. So two sources that say some of the same things so that you know you can trust those two sources. Make sense? Okay, cool. You're gonna do that for two topics, so you've got two boxes set up here. If we don't get through that by the end of class, that's okay. I just want you to get as far as you can. But I want you to fully research at least one of these topics then. But I think you'll be able to get to two. Okay, who has questions? All right, cool. If you need to change seats to work with your partner, that's okay with me. I'll take a picture.
You know,